Hey, everybody, welcome back to our Fire Engineering Humpday Hangout, aka, I guess, podcast too, but our Humpday Hangout. The issues and challenges of today's fire service. I'm Chief Rick Lasky, along with the majority of our crazy, did I say crazy ass? Can I say that show? Anyway, our crazy nut job buddies here, our best friends, Chief Scott Thompson from the Colony, Chief Curtis Bird from Pearland. We always mention we always acknowledge when somebody works for a great boss, and we've worked for horrible bosses in our careers, and we've worked for great ones. And Curtis, golly, man, Jay Taylor, what a great fire chief. I love that guy.
You're so a good time. Hard to keep up sometimes.
Oh, I just love it, Kurt. I love it, Kurt. You know, you being in Pearland is. I remember when he went to work, he goes, "I've already got a rock star as my option." I go, "Yeah, you got, you know." But anyway, and Chief John Salka may be joining us. He's in the middle of getting ready to hit the road, so he either is going to make it or not make it, but that's all good. But we've got another good show for you. We think it's a good show, a good topic we talked about beforehand. But as you know, we never use a script, so this can go anywhere. But a couple reminders. We remind you all the time that if you have any questions for us, make sure you head over to X, formerly known as Twitter. Do I have to say it anymore? Can I just say X now?
You can just say X now.
And send them our way, and our producer Kyle will send them to. Sometimes we can't get to all of them, but we do our best. But just make sure you add hashtag FE Talk for Fire Engineering Talk. And before we get to our topic here, a couple quick things. Reminder about FDIC, the greatest show on earth, the greatest conference in April. Real quick from my side, John and I are going to be doing our workshop on Monday, 5-alarm leadership. If you're looking to come for a pre-conference, if you're registering, make sure you register, because, guys, what happens is the seats go and then they close the doors, and due to fire codes, they won't let you in. So there's a lot of disappointment when guys do that. So make sure you sign up early for the pre-conference. You want to come to Chief Salka. Scott, are you doing a workshop?
No, I'm not doing a pre-conference this year.
Okay,
just doing my regular.
It's like the first time in 30 years you're not doing a pre-conference. So make sure you do that. And then we do the breakout session starting Wednesday. Those you can just show up, you know. So we're doing 5-alarm leadership on Monday, and then we're doing what it takes to be a firefighter's fire chief. You know, something we hear all the time is like, you know, Chief Bird, Chief Thompson, man, those guys, that's a firefighter's fire chief. But we get people in class all the time say, what does it mean to be a firefighter's fire chief, or what does it take to be a firefighter's fire chief? You know, so we're going to talk about that. Scott, what are you doing?
I'm doing an hour and 45-minute functional fire company on Thursday right after lunch.
Okay, functional fire company based on the best-selling book through Fire Engineering Books. Curtis.
Selling for John today. There it is, right there on the desk, ready to go.
The functional fire company.
Yeah. This is a real one. It's not even signed.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, Chief Rhodes, our boss, is incredible, isn't he? We love David.
Yes.
God bless Bobby. Bobby never failed, Scott, right? He had that book. I'd have to go ahead, Bobby. John does it, right?
John does it. You guys are too kind, man.
The best-selling book, The Functional Fire Company. And then, Curtis, you're going, right?
Yes, sir. We'll be there.
So make sure you're going to have to, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
We always grab Curtis for our live radio show there. So plan on doing that. We'll talk.
And Rick, I got 3 guys from the Colony that are presenting. I'm excited they got stuff accepted.
How cool is that? We need to blast that out there.
Man, I'm excited that they've done good stuff.
Well, you know that, guys. How exciting is it? Yeah, first of all, Scott and Kurt, you remember some of the most enjoyable moments for me at FDIC was, first of all, getting to see everybody. It's not standing up there and teaching. The other part is being able to walk the floor with your guys. And I love, look, we always say this. There's 4 of us on this show usually, and we're just a couple of chooch firefighters. We just love what we do. We're a bunch of, I always say, nobody firefighter, we're grunts. And I love introducing my guys to, like, Kevin Shea, who would be Tommy, just to go, come here, get your picture. And you grab your guys' cameras, you take pictures of your guys and these people. It's so fun to introduce them to this stuff. But when you
I got that from you. We do the same thing, Rick. We always walked around Friday morning when I work for you, and I do that with my guys now. Because you're so busy the rest of the week, and kind of wind down a little bit, do the quick run through, see kind of what you want to see, then go back and hit it hard on the ones that you want to spend some time with.
Yeah, you look at the exhibits you want to, and it gives you time to meet with your troops and stuff, and then but I think probably the only thing that's as cool as what's going on, Scott, with you guys is when you see your guys get promoted. When you see them teaching at FDIC, that is the ultimate chest pounder. I mean, you're like, that's so cool. That is so
Thinking outside the job.
Oh, when you see a friend, Scott, you heard it at FDIC, the advisory board meeting. You're on the advisory board.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see guys that never thought they'd even attend FDIC. They're on the board or they're teaching classes.
They're teaching.
Look, I never in a million years thought I would be. I've been with Fire Engineering Magazine since 1995, editorial advisor, and on the FDIC advisory board since we bought it in '96. For me, Ricky Lask, there's times sometimes you go, how the hell did I get?
I hear you.
But anyway, again, we're talking about that. So, Kurt, what's going on real quick? What's new in Pearland? I follow you guys, obviously. And
moving 100 miles an hour, getting ready to design Station 7, getting some new rigs built, getting some training set up for 2026. It's going to be a busy year again. Bring a lot of people down. Everybody pay attention for our announcements and come down and train.
Well, come down and train, but don't go to work for them anymore. I used to tell people, if you're looking for a great job, go to Pearland County. Now I have to say, come to Lucas, Texas. So
another great organization, right?
Yeah, I'm no longer preventing your shit anymore. I'm going to talk about our guys here. So, but Scott, I met with the chief from Wiley the other day, and we went to lunch and dispatch, and the topic came up of hiring processes and trying to hire certified firefighter paramedics, and we talked about how successful you guys have been with your paramedic only. And I mean,
I think Wiley's doing that now. Aren't they doing a single role paramedic?
Yeah,
that's what he said. Great. Well, great fire chief there, great boss. But yeah, so is that still going good for you and everything?
Oh, Rick, beyond expectations. And, the program we've had around for 6 or 7 years, but we just created a career track. So now we have some EMS lieutenants. We don't have any fire lieutenants. And so we have some promoted positions. Last night we put in a mobile EMS training lab in service. We repurposed one of our old ambulances. And I mean, it's got cameras inside, a big screen outside. It's got all kinds of sound playing. And I tell you, I can't say enough about the single role paramedic program. We're getting recognized by the hospital monthly. And the only reason why I say it, and it's typical firefighter fashion, right? But I got accused of ruining the fire service. It's never going to work. You're setting the fire service back 30 years. I'm saying it on camera. I'll put my single role paramedics up against anybody in the business, because they love it. They own it. And that's what they want to do. We're not making firefight, and EMS is our bread and butter. I get it. But, not everybody wants to do that. It's the busiest thing. The thing we do the most, and we put people on there who sometimes have no interest in it.
Right.
So anyway, it works great. But I've got a huge announcement to make.
Okay.
Huge announcement. Our tiller's coming in. I got to drive. I'm going back to Tillerman. So it'll be Tillerman Thompson. I'm giving up the Chiefs title. I'm pulling rank, and I'm going to be a Tillerman on one of those shifts. That's as much fun as I've had in a long time.
Did you ride with us with my buddy?
You don't know left from right. How do you steer?
Well, Scott,
I'll figure it out.
I'm not trying to remember. My buddy Rick Albers brought his 1966 Seagrave, the FDIC a few years ago when we went Tilleron.
No, you text me, Rick, and I didn't answer the text. You reached out to me, and I didn't get back to you, and I missed that, but I remember that.
We were Tiller in downtown Indy at FDIC in a 1960s. I'm Tiller in a 1966 Tiller. I'm like, this is freaking incredible.
Well, Tillerman Thompson is a new title.
Well, so part of that with that training lab that you set up there, the most important part of that, Scott, that I can think of is you need to do an article for us on it. You need to do an article for either Fire Engineering or GEMS. Kurt, remind me to jump his stuff later, okay?
I'm making a note right now.
We need an article on something.
I'm like you. I owe Diane a few articles.
Well, that's a great topic. And whether it goes to GEMS or Fire Engineering, that's a great one to talk about, buddy. So, and then lastly, we tend to bounce around and help different people. And I think I've been interim about 11 different places. So I showed up this place the other day, and I saw this on the desk. So we're in what is it? What would you call it? The southeast side or the southwest side, east side of Metroplex, Scott?
Yeah, east side, right there by Wiley and who else you border with? It's kind of close to Plano.
I'm in the Lucas metro area now.
Yeah,
and,
Lucas Metro area. There you go, the Lucas Metro area.
But I've been hanging here for a while, working on getting in their next boss.
Organization with a great reputation. Like I said, I got some family in that area. Great organization.
Well,
Good stuff.
I'm telling you, it's sometimes you can go do these interim roles and you get in and you go, oh God, I'm glad I don't drink anymore because like this place is
You
a
had the
hot.
chief left.
As Kenny Gabriel from Coeur d'Alene said, this place is a hot mess.
Hot mess.
I'm telling you, this has been the most exciting thing that I've done in a long time. These guys are maniacs. I have two. Look, Kurt, you and I and Scott, we've worked together. Golly, since the early '90s or
30s.
Right? Yeah, and we all know the feeling of being blessed when you got Kurt all years as a chief.
Oh, yeah.
Scott, when you've got a couple assistant chiefs like we've had before, and Scott, remember when we had Tim and Daryl and Terry?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. The two assistant chiefs here are incredible. I have an absolute. I think she's signing autographs. Rock star administrative assistant up in front, and then the guys. I don't think they sit down. I come in here this morning. They're running saws. I don't know if they're chasing people with saws or something.
We went to all sauce class.
Seriously, and sometimes I make the mistake of saying, "Hey, when you guys have a chance, could you?" And everything's it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. The city manager is awesome. 31 years as a volunteer firefighter before, so he gets it. He's
Nice.
Oh, great boss, incredible firehouse. Anyway, I could go on all day. Lucas,
Is there a lot of growth going on out there, Rick?
there's a ton of growth going on in this whole area. There's a lot of things going on here.
There you go.
Sorry about that. So, all right, so anyway, sorry about that. I haven't figured out how to turn it off yet.
No.
But a lot of
Back
growth,
to work.
a lot of growth in this area. A lot of stuff going on. Like I said, this is an absolutely beautiful firehouse. I will say this: we're going to be hiring. So if you're watching this show, if you're a medic, if you're a firefighter, EMT, if you're not, if whatever your role is, if you want to be a firefighter, paramedic, just watch. I'll make sure you get the posting. We're going to be hiring. We had a guy leave for another department. This is a great place. It's not 45 engine in the Bronx where you're running, all day long. But I'm telling you, these guys get it. They're. I'm telling you, there's not a slug in the group. They're all fired up, crazy nut jobs. Anyway,
Outstanding.
absolutely blessed. So anyway, all right, let's get to our topic. So, something that's very close and near to all of us. All right, is the whole live fire training thing, and both your departments do it. Scott, you've got a new incredible facility. Kurt, I've been to yours. Kurt, I always tell this story. Chief Burt, for our viewers, for our listeners, Chief Burt he started out before he was an actual instructor, as a stoker, he was teaching with me at FDIC, but that guy created smoke. I don't know how he did it. Scott, did I ever tell you about Sal Marchese, our buddy from New York, when he got lost? We're at the top of the 10-story, Kurt. We're doing tower bursts.
7. So yeah, 7
story.
story
So-
at the Institute.
So Sal, we're doing our burns, and we get done. Kurt would stoke the fires, and we'd fill the whole tower up with smoke. Well, Sal went down, Scott, to change his bottle, his SCBA. Well, he got to talking down there, and as he started coming up, Kurt lit the place off. Now we're 1403 compliant. We're not burning rubber tires and stupid stuff like that. I mean, we're pallets of straw, but I don't know how he did this. What Pixie did. So we're all up there, and I'm like, "Where's Sal?" We're talking. I go, "Oh, there's smoke's chugging. Where's Sal?" So I go out. I go into the floor. I go, "Sal." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, Ricky." I said, "Sal," he goes, I can't find my way out of this damn room. Come to my voice, and then I hear him go, "Shh." And he's breathing off his bottle. He's
Not the pack, just the bottle.
He comes out on the balcony. He's got his eyes are watering. He's got snot out of his nose. He goes, God. He goes, what the hell did Curtis do? He goes, walking up the stairs, and it went to zero visibility. Now, I'm like, I'm getting my ass kicked on this floor. I'm walking out with a bottle. We had to go fill his bottle again because anyway. So
Oh, that's funny.
let's talk about live fire training, and we list this as the benefits of doing it, how to do it right. So I guess the first thing is, guys, let's talk about the need of live fire training. I know some people have kind of went away from it, which I feel bad for them. I don't. The furthest thing we should be moving from is live fire training. But number one, we'll talk about doing it right in a little bit. But Kurt, you first, and Scott. So we're not, let's talk about the need. Why is there a need for us as leaders in the fire service to still promote and still do it for our departments when it comes to live fire training?
I think the biggest thing is we've got to practice like we're fighting. And if we're out there in buildings that aren't having a little bit of heat and a little bit of smoke, and we're not out there getting our gear on properly, and we're not breathing on air and having to be on air and stuff, you're not really preparing yourselves for the real world, where you're going into a building, you have zero idea of what's in there or what the layout is or what they're filled with or anything like that. So you really have to get it to where the guys are coming off the truck, they're going in, they're getting a little bit of heat. We don't need to burn everybody. We don't need to burn up equipment. We don't have to get people, what we say, keep them into fight mode and don't get them into flight mode or survival mode, because then they're not learning anything. But you really got to play like you're practicing, and you got to practice like you're playing. And when you go to war, you got to have practice with it.
Well, and one of the problems we had at U of I, Scott, was by the end of the day, we had to burn buildings so hot it wasn't realistic anymore, because you're never going to be inside a building. Yeah, you're never going to be inside something that's that hot, right, that warm. But the thing, and I'll go back to Curtis, the talent he had was he was able to create enough smoke. If I told him we need zero visibility, he could create that. If I said we need reduced visibility, but he always knew, like he said, Scott, to give it enough warmth that we weren't melting guys' face pieces and visors and stuff, but enough that if you got into the fire room, you knew you were in the fire room. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of that is technique, but and Kurt, I agree with you. If that's like our Scott, our dive tank. If you don't put divers that dive in black water situations, you're going to kill a diver one day. And I can't imagine putting a firefighter in an actual burning building, and they've never been in any type of zero reduced visibility type thing, so on and so forth. And I know there's props out there. Some guys have great facilities with propane and the smoke, and it does this and all that because that's all they can do. And those facilities seem to work great for them. But Scott, you guys have a beautiful, like Kurt, but a brand new, for the most part. How long have you guys had that now?
Probably 2 years, going on 2 years.
And yeah. I know you guys get a lot of use out of it. I see it, but so your thoughts on the need, and then we're going to get into, tower versus acquired structures and things like that. But
well, Rick, like so many things in the fire service, it's kind of a philosophy thing, but true real world experience is our greatest commodity, right? Getting firefighters to go to fires, and we don't have a lot of control over it. My fire marshal always gets a little nervous when I start talking about this, get more fires, right? So we want to create that experience and make it as close to reality as possible. Now there's two schools of thought, right? We wanted to go with live fire training, and I think sometimes we get wrapped up in convenience versus outcomes. Those that are using fireplaces, they'll say, well, they're easier to relight, and we're not creating bad habits by telling the firefighter, just crack the nozzle and don't put the fire out because it's too hard to restart. I was at an academy very recently, and I was watching some live fire training. I had a friend there, and they were doing live fire training, but they didn't allow the firefighters to put the fire out. And he goes, well, I can teach anybody to open and close a nozzle. Well, you remember we had a fire in Louisville, and it was Jerry Wells was a battalion chief. I was going up the stairs with an engine crew, and you would have thought this guy was paying for the water. We were getting our tails kicked. And I finally got in his ear. I said, will you open that damn line and please leave it on? Let's get this out. And so, it's one of those things where you got to kind of start with the end in mind and then reverse engineer it. So I think it's hugely important in this day and age to have the ability to do some live fire training. And I get it. Not everybody gets to. We went a long time and we weren't able to, but when we put the group together to decide what direction we wanted to go, everybody was pretty passionate about making sure, we could get a little heat in there. We could control the fire, make it do some different things. And that was part of the learning process also. So, I think any training, as long as you're reinforcing good habits and the way that you want the system to respond, is valuable training. But I think, live fire training has to be included in that vision of training, and to some degree, whether you have your own or you use somebody else's.
Well, we're definitely going to get to the do's and don'ts here in a second, but you brought up something, Scott, that I want to touch back on. And you made a great point about putting the fire out. And I can't tell how many times I've said we're actually doing a disservice. It's kind of like when we were teaching guys to use a command board and magnets and passports before they were fighting the fire. And battalion chiefs would get locked up with and I'm like, guys, remember Kurt? Remember when we had the neighboring battalion chief there? Remember we had the 3 houses going, and I down the street from my house, and I got there. I'm like, I got a full still coming in here. Do you want us to take? We want us to take the second exposure. We had 2 exposures ago, remember? And he's like, I need you to get their passports. And I went, I have a full still coming here. I got 2. I got 2. He goes, and he's drawing pictures on the board. And I'm on
and telling the radio traffic, hold on a minute, I'm not done filling out my tactical worksheet yet.
Yeah, Scott, and I told him, you hear them
stage with 3 windows going so we can get passports done.
Exactly. I said, you hear those cue sirens? They're coming, and they're going to want to go to work. And I'm like, and remember, Scott or Kurt at U of I, we stopped doing the simulator training as part of TAC Strategy 1 and 2 and Fire Officer 1 and 2, because we did it as a separate sim class because we were pigeonholing guys. And they weren't running the fire. They were more worried about, look, the command boards are huge. I get that.
Classes.
Yeah, it was, when I say, get their passports, I'm like, I understand that, but can we fight the fire too at the same time? It's the same thing, Scott. You said there's been times we go, guys, put the fire out. And I used to say this, they dial 911 for us to come put the fire. They didn't dial 911 and say, hey, come let our stuff burn on the ground. Get water going.
Come organize your people to watch my event.
Yeah. And the penciling thing, nowadays we're burning frozen gasoline, and they used to say you never shoot water to smoke. Well, yes, we do. We cool this thing, we move forward, and I've had guys do before on penciling. There's guys that have died in buildings because they were penciling. You remember that? There are actual line of duty. That's where the major contributing factor was they were penciling instead of open up the nozzle. So Scott, I want to go back to that because I'm like, God, it is such a big, huge point of put the fire out. The faster we get water flowing, my favorite phrase, water on the fire. The faster you get water flowing, at whatever cost. Exactly.
But you want to do it from the best tactical position, and that's where training comes in. We can teach anybody to open and close a nozzle. Granted, we can do that in a 2-hour class if that's all we're talking about. But putting water on the fire from the best tactical position, and then you got to define what that is, kind of based on your philosophy, inside, outside, command established, command's not established, however you want to package that.
Well, you could, and all of us watch the videos. We all watch I call it the fire porn. We all watch the fire videos. And there are some guys that you go, man, this is a training tape. This should be. And there's other guys that don't know when to shut down the nozzle, or they're too much bursty instead of throw some water, shut it down, or they don't hit the ceiling for, there's all different arguments about, I used to like the Zorro thing. Hit the ceiling, come down, hit the fire.
It's what you used to say, Rick, everything will dry out, but things won't unburn.
Nothing unburns, everything dries out. I used to talk about with sprinklers too, but you're right. It's about getting water to the seat of fire. Number one, we've talked about this plenty of times in the show. If you're not training all the time on stretch and hose, you suck. I'm just going to say it. They're just the busiest companies in the world. 88 Engine, the Bronx, they drag hose around their pumpers in the bays. The Colony, Pearland, Louisville, Texas is an aggressive department. Stockton, Wichita. I'll put your guys' departments right next to Stockton, California, Wichita.
Wow.
I'll put Pearland County because your guys get after it. The aggressive fire attack, a very safe, aggressive fire attack, but flowing water. But it goes back to this, and I'll throw this at you. And you guys know this because we're all trainers. How many times you heard us say this? I went, let me get this straight. When it comes to like working in a reduced or zero, visibility atmosphere, like a burn building or whatever, let's go to an actual structure fire. And I'll go so let me get this straight. You want me to crawl into a burning building with little or no use of the 5 things God gave everybody else to use. God gave the cops, we love our law enforcement. They gave the police, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. They give all 5 things to live their life by. And I was, what's one? Sight. How much vision you have in a burning building? What's the best one? Well, it might be sound, but your hood, your regulator, all this stuff. What's another one? Touch. Well, you got your bows on those. What's another one? Taste. You can't do a taste. You smell. Blah, blah, blah. All 5 of them are gone. So I said, let me get this clear. Let me get this straight, Chief Burton, Chief Thompson. You're asking me to crawl into a burning building, a building that's under demolition. Everything holding up the building is leaving the smoke and flame, and gravity is going to win. Search for the origin of the fire, any possible victims. Stay oriented without the 5 senses that everybody else gets to use. If you showed up at a construction site like that, they'd send you home with a white cane and a seeing eye dog.
And the nozzle man only partially opening the nozzle.
Yeah, tell me that staying oriented in a reduced or zero visibility room is important, and the training for it. Well, there's lots of ways we can accomplish that, right? We could do that by just pulling a hood over people or using the cover. We could do that. But I just think when you introduce the actual smoke, I know places, guys, that have to use propane because of their ordinance. Right. And you know what? If I couldn't do live burns, give me that. I'm perfectly fine with that. But the smokes work differently. You know what I'm saying? They kind of, some of them go away like that and some don't, and some, you know what I'm saying? And I think that little bit of heat, that little bit of your brand new firefighter. And then when Lieutenant Burt comes out and says, okay, it was a little warm in there. Yeah. Okay. I understand this. There's gonna be times it'll be a lot hotter than that.
Well, and also, Rick, making a connection that there's a consequence if you just pull your mask off. I mean, in the other environment, you can take your mask off and you're going to get a little red-eyed. You're going to be okay. But when you're burning pallets and hay, the consequences are going to be so. There's a little bit of a stress component in there. You don't have that ease of mind of saying, "Oh, well, if I get uncomfortable, I'll just rip my." And so all those things, I think, kind of play into it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a biggie I wasn't even thinking about. Is just that you can pull your mask off with theatrical smoke and you're fine. You're not going to do it. And when you get into a real burning building, the real thing, we're going to be dragging you out with the RIT team or something, that kind of stuff. So Kurt, again, we're going to get to do's and don'ts because in a minute here, because every one of our standards in the fire service is because of something someone did wrong, whether it's the civilians or us. I guess, guys, and I'll throw it to you, Curtis, first. Let's talk about towers versus acquired structures. And they both have benefits and they both offer something.
Oh, absolutely.
The one is an everyday, you can use it anytime. The other one is like someone handing
once in a life, lucky
coins. Yeah. Well, Kurt, you remember in Illinois, okay, when as a bird team, we'd go to Naplate. And I would help them with their EPA permits, their historical preservation, restoration, to make sure you're not burning a landmark down, and then set everything up, and that's your water supply, your redundant water supply, who's your safety, who's interior, who's doing what, so on and so forth, and getting all the paperwork done, and then providing with the instructors and use some of the people and so on and so forth. But let's I guess, guys, let's talk about that for a few minutes. The likes of both. I don't think there's any dislikes at all to a tower, aside from when people abuse it and that guys come in and burn too hot or whatever. I think maybe a dislike for acquired structure is sometimes, if it hasn't been abated right, or if there's any risk, for inhalation hazards, asbestos, stay away from it, that kind of thing. And I'll just start off with this, Kurt. How many times we have buildings we can't burn in, but man, going in and actually pulling ceiling and opening up walls and taking windows and stuff, or smoking it up, doing burn barrels and stuff.
Stuff you can't do in the tower. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the acquired versus tower, and the likes or any dislikes about either one.
I think both of them, just like you said, have their pros and cons to them. I mean, a tower we can reuse and reuse and reuse, but it gets old and everybody gets to the point where they know it, but you're getting the feel and the heat and the smoke and the reduced visibility, and the same with when all the acquired structures we've used over the years. I mean, talk about a week worth of prep and to make sure there's no asbestos, make sure there's nothing in there. But I think the biggest part of all of this is instructors being freaking intelligent and knowing what can happen. When we first opened our tower here, we got a new about 2,800 square foot concrete burn tower. And it's a great building, and we've used it all the time. But the first 6 months, I told guys, you have to go learn her personality. Every one of these buildings has a personality.
Mhm.
And so we burned in every room, and we burned at different amounts of material and different loads and different everything, because you have to get the personality of it to see, okay, the wind's out of the north today. What's this building going to do? Wind's out of the east today. What's it going to do? What happens if I open this window or this scuttle hatch, or if I open this window, or let's say I put a fan right here to help move some heat? Those buildings are going to do something. The good thing about the towers is you can predict that, and then you can set it up. Sometimes in these acquired structures, you have to be twice as mindful, because you can't go in there and say, okay, what's going to happen today with the wind out of the north? Because you don't know how that building was built. You don't know how the wind's going to affect it. You don't know how sealed up it is. So they're a lot more unpredictable. I mean, we've had hundreds of successful fires in acquired structures, but they're just so much more work, and you need so much more manpower and so much more prep work. And like you said, most of the time you get them, they're out in the middle of nowhere. So you got to have multiple water supplies and water operations and stuff, but they're both good and they both have their points. But like you said, if I ever get acquired structure, they're going cutting holes in the ceilings, and they're pulling ceiling and, breaching walls and stuff like that more than I would in a tower, which I can't do any of that. But both of them are really good for when you get off the truck. Where's your box light? Where's your where's your tools? How do you carry your tools? Where's your radio? How do you talk on the radio? All the stuff. A lot of places you'll see, they'll go into either of them and they'll go, oh, don't worry about your tools, or don't take your light in this one. We have to play like we're going to fight. And if you don't have your radios, and you don't have your thermal imagers, and you don't have your flashlights, and you're not carrying your tool assignment, you're not carrying your air packs, you're doing a big disservice to everybody, because they need to be living like they're fighting.
Well, and Scott, to build off of what Kurt just said, how important is your eyes? You've been a trainer for 40 years, besides being in the fire service longer than that. Mm-hmm. We start gradual. It's like we used to talk about the Save Your Own training. You don't start off with a torture chain. You start off. Remember, Kurt, the first drag we did,
piece section by
150 feet of inch 3/4, 90-degree turn. We put a firefighter 5 feet off the nozzle. That was it.
Yeah,
and easy peasy. That's all. On a concrete slippery floor, we could drag them, and then we gradually built in it. I think we all agree, and Scott, go on a little bit about it, if you would, about we start off with a dark dull face piece, whether you use the shower caps or the actual fittings or your hoods, and we're working on reduce zero visibility and being out there, and then we're getting them used to rooms and right left-hand searches and following walls and following hose lines and ropes and all that, and working inside, blah blah blah. And we're gradually getting there, and then we kind of introduce them to the tower, and then we introduce them to smoke. Your thoughts on why we have to do that? We have to start out. We can't just go, okay, time to go run into this burning building, whether it's acquired and I've seen guys do that. It's like the first time they're ever in a burning building, and I'm like, did you work on confidence before this, or getting rid of everything from claustrophobia with some people and everything else? So your thoughts on starting gradual and working your way into that?
Well, skill acquisition is a process, Rick, and I think you framed it out very well. But the second reference that you gave to where we got an acquired structure over at our tower, and the training chief got that, and he'll build this scenario, and he'll tell guys to come in and handle it. To me, that's not training. That's doing a needs assessment, because as soon as that drill's over, he's going to get in their ass and say, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And I think one of the biggest mistakes we make as a fire service when it comes to training is we don't start at the technique level. We talk about tasks, tactics, and strategy. We've been doing that for years. But if it's not right in the head, it's not going to be right at the hand. So we got to make sure we develop the correct mental imagery when we talk prior to. Well, it's true, right? I can give the strongest guy in the world a set of irons and put him in front of a commercial door, and he'll break the wall out around it, push the door out. Right? There's a technique to it. And we don't start at that tech. All of us played football. We played competitive sports, and there was always a technique at our position. So we have a process here. When you go from the engine to the truck to the squad, it's different skill set. And so we start with the very basics. So the first day may be, let's just talk about the use of a chainsaw. Have you ever used a chainsaw before? Do you know anything about them? then the next one, we're going to, let them feel the vibration. And so training and content, you break it down into small parts and you're building confidence as you go along. And if you stumble, you stop for a minute. Let's work on this. Maybe we need to spend 1 or 2 sessions. And you do these in 45-minute to an hour sessions. You don't go out and beat the guys out for 4 hours. But I think we have to get back to really starting at the technique level and do deliberate training, not just throw these needs assessments, have you go through a scenario and chew your ass out because you did it wrong when there was no instruction on the front side. I think acquired structures certainly have their place, because what acquired structures give to us is that lack of intel that we don't get when we go to real fires. We're going to a place that we're not familiar with. And I know we do the walkthrough, the safety and all that, but it's still like Curtis says, we don't know how the building is going to react like we do with our own training facilities. I think the ideal situation is you have both. You have opportunities to acquired structure, and then you have your towered home. The last acquired stuff I did was with us in Louisville. We got a few buildings. We got the old lumber yard, but even on those, we didn't do live fire. We did all the things you talked about, the walls, because it's so hard in Texas and in incorporated cities to do live fire now with all the regulations and all that. It's how are you best going to spend your time?
Well, and like you said, it's got to be graduated. You got to, what I was maybe think about right away with that, Scott, is sometimes we do our live fire training. Some places once a year, they go and do it. Their ISO training, so on and so forth.
Just check a box.
Yeah. And unless you're on 88 engine 45 or 69 Chicago or whatever, Kurt, it's not very realistic to take a guy or gal and run them through evolution to where their knees are like blistered. You tell them, well, bring knee pads. Well, that's not realistic either, because I don't wear you with knee packs to a fire under my bunker pants.
Right.
So if you're not active with your training, some places don't have the facility. That's the biggest problem. And without, I might risk getting in trouble here because we don't really talk about vendors, but like there's places. I know there's lots of them, folks, but like affordable drill towers and things like there's some great businesses out there, places. They get it. They know there's whatever vendor you use, they have the ability to come out. Scott, you just went through it. All right. To assess your needs. What do you need? What is the county looking for? I know you're hands on with your guys. Guys, tell me what you want. And then you present your thoughts, their thoughts, and then those people tailor it. And I know you went through several revisions before you finalize, and sometimes it's nothing more than I want another burglar bar prop. Right. I want this room set up this way. I want a Denver window set up a certain way. I want all these different things. Kurt and Darren Woodridge, look at how many different things we could do with that train. You and I set that up to be able to do everything from confined space, to burns to
collapses. We could do basement fires without a basement. We could do everything. But it was, once again, it's knowing your buildings and it's practicing and it's putting it through its hoops to see what it can get out, what you can get out of it.
And I think anybody that's looking at either developing a training program, or especially if they're looking at buying a tower or containers or whatever it is, Curtis hit on an important point. And I always kind of say you got to start with the end in mind and why, if not this, what. But you decide what you want to, what kind of things your system, your fire department system needs, and build the training around that. Don't let a vendor come in and sell you this big monstrosity of a thing and all these.
We did PPV and fog nozzles.
Yeah, and you're never going to use them. We only have so many different types of fires we go to here in the colony, and so we built our facility for those things so that we could practice and rehearse specific things. So you got to kind of decide what you want to train on, what your needs are, and then build a training system around that, both from the classroom and the live fire side.
Well, and that goes along when we've done other shows before, guys, on like apparatus specifications. I want an engine that looks like I want an engine that looks like FDNY. Well, works. Well, that's great for them, but how much
does it work in your district?
Yeah, you need to spec your apparatus for your specific needs, not to look cool like someone else. And Scott, that's a great point. What type of buildings are you fighting? Do you like a lot of these places are putting little strip malls? They can do that. Some guys are doing a little bit of a tower. Some places
mid-rise stuff. Yeah, some mid-rise. Yeah.
Some people are never have anything higher than 2 stories. Why would you waste money on something higher than that when I'd rather spend that money on something more effective for what we're doing. Even a car fire prop or whatever, being
a car fire roof prop or something that we're going to use.
Exactly. And and Kenny Hahn, my buddy from Rensselaer, Indiana, just popped a message there. They've got they got stuff going on all the time, when it comes to live burns and that. But he said they introduced their rookies to a Walmart bag over the face, and then they take him to the smoke machine before the live fire evolutions. And that Kenny gets it. He's been doing this a long time. That there's that gradual start with it. Now, one of the things we talked about like breaks into the process permits. And folks, if you don't have the ability, if you don't have a tower in your backyard, so there's the University Fire Service Institute. There's departments that share their facilities. We'll get that in a second. In Texas, we've got Teaks. I'm telling you, oh my God, that is just. I was just down there. What an incredible facility. Louisiana State Fire Camp. There's so many. Florida, Delaware.
Jimmy Crawford's place in Indianapolis. Talk about
exactly.
Learning how to burn.
That's one of the best there is as far as use and design. I mean, what FDTN and with Lombardo and Pressler and the training cadre that he has.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a ways. We'll talk about that in a second about like what we did, Scott, in Louisville, to open our place up and the requirements you have to protect your stuff. But we talked about the theatrical smoke when you have to use that and different things like that. I guess let me back up. We went to let's work on skills like Scott said. Let's get it going. Let's slowly keep evolving, keep challenging them, and let's just do the real stuff. We practice like we play, that kind of thing. We talked about whatever your permitting system is and so on and so forth. We talked about towers versus acquired structures, and so on and so forth. And, water supplies and all things you got to do that without turning this into a whole acquired structure class. But the reason NFPA 1403 exists is because some guys got killed in a training burn. Now, all three of us are firm believers. The last place we should be hurting firefighters is in a training evolution. Okay. Sending guys home with burnt face pieces and helmets is not cool. All right. But NFPA 1403 exists. So there's a lot of do's and don'ts. We don't burn rubber tires anymore. Guys still do it, guys. You see it. I go places, I go, did he just throw a mattress on there? Did he just where do you guys come from? We don't do that anymore. And I'll tell it to our viewers, if you want to know how to make smoke, get a hold of Chief Curtis Burt. I don't know what he does. If you want to make smoke out of pallets and straw and do it right, that's the guy. He'll tell you, right, Kurt, I only need half pallets. I only need so much straw. I need wet straw for this, dry straw for this, blah, 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 wheelbarrow where you're soaking stuff. And he would sit there and throw stuff on and get it going and just, without having to throw rubber tires in roofing. How about the guys that throw a roofing shingle on it to blacken it up and all that stuff? We should be past that as a fire service. We're supposed to be the smart ones and proactive and good risk managers. There's plenty of evolutions we can do in our created.
Part of that is too, is just like the three of us harp all the time on what's the most important thing you teach your probies, but it's building construction and fire behavior. You got to learn the same thing when you're burning in these structures. Learn, like I said before, learn how this building reacts, learn what it does in December versus what it does in June, when the wind's out of the north or the south, and then figure out, if I put 3 pallets on this, what's my fire load going to be? Guess what? Fire eats smoke. So if you put too much fire, you're not going to have smoke. If you have too little, you're going to have some. You're going to need some burn cans. We used to soak hay, and we still do, in Dawn dish soap. Why? Because it makes it a little thicker, a little sticky. It darkens it up. We can blacken out anything in the tower, but you got to learn and you got to practice and you got to train with the building you're using. It's no different than air packs. Just like you got to know them inside and out, you got to know your towers inside and out. And the people you have stoking and in charge of those towers, or the instructors or the facilitators or stokers you got in there, they got to let them practice. We just brought in a whole semi truck worth of pallets and said, guys, go play. Figure this building out. And then let's have it. And then we have rules. This room can only have 4 pallets. This one can only have 3. We don't use hay. We don't do this. Because we don't want to hurt the guys. We don't want to damage equipment, but that gives them the most realistic smoke to heat to, environment that they can play with while they're in there.
Well, and that keeps you from wrecking your building. Scott, remember when we got to Louisville
Your guys' building was destroyed.
We had to use a fire act grant to put like, because people, neighboring communities, remember, Scott, they were burning 9 pallets in one pile. Everything was spalled.
You guys didn't have a room that could be over 2.
Rick, when I taught for the college, we were part of that. You know, they would loan that to us, and after doing 4 or 5 fires on a Saturday, you couldn't even kneel on that concrete on the second floor. I mean, and we did. We you know, that was back before your time there, my time there when I was with the college. But we would try to run you out of there.
Well, and Curtis, we ended up with a guy, I won't mention his name, that ended up with 2nd and 3rd degree burns from a tower burn. Kneeling in the spalled concrete and boiling water. In a burn tower in an academy. So this goes back to the restraint. This comes back to, remember Greg Fisher, Kurt?
Oh, yeah.
Greg Fisher taught me how to do live burns.
He was one of the first persons that taught me, too.
Well, he was like in charge of your Explorer post.
Mike Weber out of Sheridan. Yeah, he's my Explorer's chief.
That's right. And if I'm telling you, Scott, if he caught you thinking or doing something you should be at a library instructor, he would run. You'd never be with him. He would run you off his training ground because he gets how serious it is. And I'm telling you, we were so safe. It was crazy. And we still had fun. We still did burns. We still did everything just fine. But you got to have that boss. You got to have mommy or daddy there that's looking at the children going, don't do this, don't do that. You know, it's not, like I said, it's not about burn helmets and the rest of it.
He was always the adult in the room, but it was because he wanted the students to have a good experience and to learn something.
But there is a mindset out
there. A bunch of guys coming out and going, I'm the instructor. I'm going to show you how tough I am.
But there's a mindset that supports that, Curtis, where that's their goal, is get the guys a little burned so they know how it feels. They got the burn ointment, the silver dye out. They know you're going to get burned, and they want you to experience
here because the black's been burned off of it. And it's like, what do you really?
There's a mindset that supports that.
Yeah, none of us have any place for any patience for that or any place for that. We're all about, look, we're doing a show on live fire training. We are all huge supporters of live fire training. However you accomplish it, whether you do it at home, whether you do it on the road, whether you do it in a burn building, we do an acquired structure, or whether you got to borrow somebody's structure. Scott, let's talk real quick. And I don't know if it's all still there in Louisville, but we put together a pretty good program for, and correct me with a couple of things. So we had it set up where if Flower Mound's a great fire. We always talk about Flower Mound's another great fire department. If they, in order for them to, now anybody could come and rent a facility to do like their physicals and not fight fire. All right. We'd have one of our facilities managers, do that. And then if they want to do live burns, now we only did flashover. Nobody else did flashover. We did flashover, which meant they paid for our 3 instructors. And then there was a percentage on number 3 that went above and beyond that. And that was towards maintenance for the facility. And our bosses in Louisville, remember, Scott, let us take that money in your budget. They actually came back to your budget. It didn't go to the general fund. Whatever they paid for facility use, so we can buy more saws and more blades and more whatever. They had to bring their own pallets. We bring your own fuel. And other than that, and they couldn't. We always had, and then they had to pay for one of our facilities managers, to
kind of keep an eye on things.
Yeah, they didn't do nothing. They want to make sure you left it like you found it, and that you didn't do anything stupid. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, they had to go through Scott's, and I'm telling our viewers, they had to go through Chief Thompson's NFPA 1403 class. And if you came to use our tower, Scott made sure one of our facility management people was there, and you had to bring that person that was trained or the people that were trained before you could use our facility. So you paid your fees, and it wasn't outrageous. I mean,
no, it wasn't. It was very reasonable.
Yeah, if you rented the tower to burn it, you paid so much, and then so we gave it back. We weren't using it to fund, buying bicycle. We were putting the money back into training. Someone's got to help with the maintenance and the care and all that stuff for the facility. And it worked out really well.
Yeah.
So you could rent it for non-fire stuff. And then usually all we did was open it for you. If we did flashover, our guys taught the flashover class. And if you were going to do live burns with your own department, you had to be through our 1403 class, you had to pay the user fee and for our guy to be there. Scott, you had it built into the ordinance where it was like senior captain's pay and benefits. So we didn't lose any money. But if we had a driver or a firefighter doing it, we actually captured that extra money, and that got stuck back in the train. So some of the cool props you see in Louisville are because it came out of that training fund that Chief Thompson created a long time ago that continuously, pays for that stuff. So guys, there's ways. If you want to see how to do that, I think they're still doing it, right, Scott? Get a hold of Louisville. And
well, they went in joint with so they redid the whole thing, and we had a chance to get into that, and it's a great deal, but we opted to go the other direction. But they've made all kinds of improvements down there, so I don't know how it
they may not have it, that ability, but there's places out there, folks, that they'll send you their policies, everything, their fee structures, and how they rent their facilities out. And again, it was just a way to put money, because when Scott and I got there, it's like, oh my God,
that tower was destroyed.
I think his head was going to fall off his shoulders. He was shaking it so much, going, do you see what they did to this? So now at least, he's down there. He's got to trade. They're buying saws, they're buying tools, they're doing this, they're putting props and all that for training, the backbone behind what we do. So
if you remember, Rick, we bought almost this big metal cage on rollers, and we put all the training related stuff in there so we could maintain it, and we would roll it out. And that way we didn't get mixed up. And I mean, the system worked really, really well.
Well, and Kenny asked about OSB, and I'll look at Kurt for that. One of the things is, I'll just say this: whatever you're using, guys, that are within that are compliant things to use in your burn building, make sure you're not using stuff that you think is okay, but it's chock full of glue and other things. It'll darken up the smoke, but it comes back to understanding building construction and products. What am I burning? What is it producing? For the environment, we got to talk about it for the environment, in the air and on the ground and in the sewers, and to our people, to their gear, whatever. So I'll just say that for Kenny, my good buddy, my brother, and to those that are thinking about that, you got to make sure what you're burning is the right stuff to burn, and what are the repercussions. If it's just a matter of putting some smoke, some gray and white, and some steam once in a while in the air, and you're not killing, that kind of stuff. But I go back to it, not that anybody's doing that, but that's why we don't throw roofing shingles and burn barrels. Real quick, we still got a few minutes here. Kurt, do you remember what they had? And I have a picture of it. Elgin, Illinois is the first one. We've used a lot of barrels, right? Barrels in rooms. That's in the back bedroom. We'll have a barrel burning, and that way we're not burning the building down. But you still got to watch the ceiling, so it's not eroding and getting up into the attic or whatever. So Elgin did this years ago. They took a couple burn barrels, and they fitted a coupling down at the bottom, and they had a metal gas hose that went to a little barbecue propane tank well outside. And they would fill, Scott, the burn barrel 3/4 of the way with water, and then slid on this inside the burn barrel. They had some angle iron, and it was welded to a lid. So what they did was they could walk in there, they could walk in there, and you could turn the gas on outside, and it goes through this metal line all the way inside. And it introduces this little bits of propane, nothing dramatic, into the water. And when you lit it, as it bubbled up, you actually got flames. So when you made the corner to the bedroom, and that metal lid did two things. One is it kept it, not that it would, but it kept it from doing that.
Kept it from hitting the ceilings.
But it spread out. So when you came around the corner with your tick, Scott, you actually saw the glow from the barrel, from the top part of the barrel, the lid, and you saw flames. Yet it was going nowhere. You could throw one of our favorite things, Curtis, a PPV fan in there, and the fires go nowhere. It only had the capability to burn whatever propane you were, and it was all regulated. You could only introduce
you could shut it off anytime you wanted to, and it looked like it was rolling up and over the
ceiling
if you needed
went
it
into the water, and it was such a cool prop.
Yeah.
When you're in a neighborhood, you can't push smoke, Scott. They did the theatrical smoke. They got that all in there and smoked it good with their machines, but guys actually had real heat.
Great idea.
And it was warm enough. And I thought, I have pictures of that. I thought, what a cool thing that wasn't dangerous at all. Mm-hmm. You got a little barbecue, like way the hell over there outside, with this metal flexible line that you can't drop an axe on and hurt. So there's lots of ways to make this happen, make it work. Sometimes you just got to put a glowing red light in there, take an old red light and just let it glow. And guys, that's your fire. But I think if we go back here for a few minutes, I want to go back to Scott. You said it, train your people to put the fire out. Otherwise, they're going to get there. They go, and one of us is going to lean over your shoulders and pat you and say, "Will you put the fire out, please?" They didn't.
And guess what? This stuff will light back up.
I've done that several times of saying, please open it up.
Can we just, I want to go home. Can we just put the fire out? That kind of thing.
We've done some things, and we'll do some things where we'll put small tips. We've got some little 3/8" tips we put on our normal nozzles that we carry on the rigs and everything. But when we get in there, it's like, guys, do this like it's real. Put the fire out. We can drag that pallet out, let it dry out, put a new one in, a little bit of straw, and we can light it right back up. And
well, Scott Curtis probably cussed me out plenty of times because I would tell people put the fire out in the tower. And he never argued. Yeah. Curtis, is the expression he has in his face right there, that's his expression all the time. And I could piss him off to no end, and I'd never know it because he's like this. That's how he is.
And I know you're going to get happy in the pants you got mad in. So it ain't gonna be like
well, and I'm sure there's been times in Side Sky he's been going, they put it out again. But you know what? He was the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. I don't know how he did it.
Oof.
But that should be a Stoker's class he's teaching. You want to learn how to use your tower, go see Chip Burt. So before we finish things up here, folks, if you have any questions, and we always do this for you, and we'll get their information in a second, get a hold of Chief Curtis Burt in Pearland. If you're anywhere near Houston, go see their facility. Get a hold of Chief Thompson in the Colony, Texas, all right, in the north, the Metroplex, and go visit these guys. Go visit their facilities. First of all, they share everything. You'll leave there, bring a box, because you're going to leave there with either thumb drives or copies of policies and stuff. Because we all do it. We share everything. That's how we've got where we're at because of other people. Yeah. But let's do this. We're talking about, and obviously, folks, for their listening, we can't cover everything about live fire training. We always say this in an hour. We could do generating smoke for an hour and probably run out of time, let alone all the things. So number one, and actually before I do my little thing, Kurt, your ending thoughts, your clear closing thoughts on live fire training, the benefits of doing it and how to do it right. What are your thoughts?
I think it's invaluable for a department to be able to do this. And like you've said, and like we've all said, we've got 2 towers at our place right now, and we're getting ready to build 2 or 3 more in our next phase. But it is invaluable, and it's something you got to do, and you got to get your people in there. Talk to other departments. I mean, just like you guys had set up at Louisville and stuff. We were in our place out, or we let people train, or my nephew may bring his company down in January to our next live burn fires just to come down and see how somebody else does it. But get with departments to do this. And for as much as people want to complain and argue and fuss that NFPA 1403 doesn't let you have realistic training, that means you're not putting enough effort in. That means you're not prepping. You're not learning how to create a good environment for teaching for these guys.
Those are probably the dangerous guys. Those are the guys.
They're the ones that are just doing stuff ignorant because you can do it. We don't burn anything but unpainted pallets and straw, and we put on some heck-acious training for our folks. And it's all because my training guys and my training committee and all the guys that are out there stoking have learned their buildings, have tried new things, and have worked. But it's just like training a class. If you're going to put in an hour class, you need to put in 3 hours of work beforehand. Training buildings and training fires and all that's got to be the same. You got to put in the work. You got to learn how to do it. And don't be handcuffed by the way somebody else does or what some policy says. We follow 1403 to the letter, but guess what? We put on some great fires and our guys get a lot out of it.
Well, and for some of the, we have a lot of friends that are great fire chiefs, but for the ones that maybe you need to stretch your brand new spaceship SUV replacement. Keep your car a couple more years and start looking at ways to fund getting some of these buildings built for your people. They need it more than you need a disco ball and a latte machine in your fire chief's car. But Kurt, real quick, if they want to get a hold of email wise, what's the best way?
If they need to get a hold of me, they can get a hold of me through Pearland, or my private is cbert@me.com.
Okay, perfect. Scott, closing thoughts on and I told people, I'm telling you, you need to go to both these places if you want to see how to do it right. But your closing thoughts on this whole topic?
Knowledge and skills deteriorate. They don't last forever. And that begins in a very short period. So, unless you're 88 engine, 45 engine I call it rehearsal. If you're not doing it in real life, you better find a way to do it and get it as close to reality as possible. it's a structural training. Make sure your guys have their structural gloves on. They're not wearing their rescue gloves. And get the sets and reps in there however you can do it. I understand some people listening may be frustrated and go, we don't have the money. We don't have the resources. If there's a will, there's a way. You got to be creative. You got to think outside the box. But most importantly, you got to spend the time on the front end thinking about what you want to accomplish in this training event, and then build the drill, the scenario, whatever around that. So hugely important. We'll share whatever we have. We went the container route, and we've had really good luck with that. We're thinking about moving it because our facility is not great, but I'll share whatever I have. If you want to get in touch with me, it's Scott with 2 T's at fireserviceleadership.com. When you email me, I'm going to forward your email to Chief Garrett Rice, who's our training chief, who's doing a phenomenal job. But he has a training cadre that he's built to, as Curtis mentioned, to learn this building and operate it, and they do a phenomenal job. But we'll share whatever we have.
Well, and I agree with both of you wholeheartedly. And if I'm going to finish with anything, it's going to be, guys, have a plan. If you're doing this, and you heard this from the 2 chiefs, you have to have a plan. You can't just go, let's go do this. And your plan has to be written out. It needs to be in writing. People need to be aware. First of all, you always go through. You always say, this is what we're doing, how we're doing it. You don't just throw people in acquired structures or buildings. You need to have, if you file 1403, like Kurt said, you'll be doing that right. But have a plan, have a thought, have a lesson plan, have your list of accomplishments. What are you trying to accomplish with what you're doing and how you're doing it? I'll say this, I'll end with this. Probably the most important thing is be safe. You can be aggressive in the fire service and be safe at the same time. Trust me, we all do it. We have firefighters that are some of the most aggressive people I know who are still safe. They're aggressive firefighters, so
like I always say, be smart, because being smart's being safe.
That's it. So, exactly. So do the right thing, figure it out, and like Scott said, my heart goes out to you. And like Kurt said, if you don't have the means to do it all the time with the funding, find some ways and
find somebody else you can.
Yeah. And do it the right way. So, I'm at chieflasky@gmail.com. I'll finish with this. If you want to work with some great firefighters,
Sorry, I didn't turn mine off either.
That's you. I'm looking. I'm going, did I do it again? But if you're looking to work with some great firefighters, come to Lucas, Texas. I'm telling you, we're getting ready to hire. That's what we're doing our process. It's a great area. It's a great department. They get it. It's a bunch of energetic. They must be on like 1,000 monster drinks or whatever the hell they're doing. But if you
just have to learn to stay out of their way.
Come to Lucas, Texas. If anything, just come for a visit. Come see me here, man. God, I'd love to introduce you to these people. They're incredible. So
you let me know a good time, Rick, and I'll be there. Yeah, I know you have the coffee on, but you just tell me, give me a 2-day notice, and I'll be there.
Coffee pot's always on. And Kurt, I told Scott before you came on, I go, I already promised 2 of the guys that Chief Thompson is coming. Okay, so let me figure it out. We'll get him here. But
I'll have the red carpet out.
Yeah, the coffee pot is always on here. That and the pickleballs, whatever that thing is, they do pickleball here a lot. So anyway, our next show, and I want to thank Kyle for hanging in with our producer. Let us go a few minutes longer, but you can always catch some of the best podcasts in the evening at fireengineering.com. Every third Wednesday, we have this show. This is our hump day, but they have hump days every Wednesday. So the night look, you're already at fireengineering.com. Look at the ribbon bar, say all the time. Anything you need, gems, Firefighter Nation, Fire App, everything is right here. Everything you need, FDIC is right in front of you. But in closing, we always end it with the same statement, and that's please keep the men and women in our armed forces in your thoughts and prayers. And before I say about our never forgetting, join us next month. December 17th will be our next show. That's our third Wednesday. We'd love to see you then. Tomorrow night, John Salk and I have the command post, so check out that podcast. But we always end, again, with that tribute to our military. And never forgetting means never forgetting. Be safe. God bless you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, brothers.